and get started. So thank you all for coming to our event today. And my name is Stacy, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm wearing a flowered tank top type shirt, and I have salt and pepper and actually a little bit blondish hair. I am so grateful for you to be here today. You can turn on captioning if you like. And so we are here today to talk about an important topic, but we always do at Inform Your Community. And what we do is we merge important topics with fun events. And you can find out more about Inform Your Community at www.informyourcommunity.org. And feel free to check out our social media links there. You can see all of our old event videos also on our YouTube channel. And not just for this program, but all of our programs, children's crafting, adult crafting, movie night, game night, speaker series, like this one. So also feel free to tell your friends to sign up for our mailing list. And of course, we welcome donations. We are a volunteer-led organization, and our donations help to keep our events free. So really appreciate that. This event is part of our Know It All series. We're going to have some wonderful speakers with us here today. And at our Know It All series, we invite people to come together to listen to people speak to the topic that we're discussing. And we encourage you to ask questions throughout the event. So we're here today to talk about human trafficking, and it's an important topic for many reasons, but just for some examples of why this topic is so important, we can highlight that 5 to 10% of kidney transplants performed annually involve trafficked organs. Additionally, there's been a 300% increase in GPS tracking being used in coercive control cases. For example, the Apple AirTag from 2018 to 2023. So just in 5 years, it's been a 300% increase. And then it's amazing and astounding to know that 1.1 million people live in modern slavery in the United States, which is something that a lot of people don't imagine could possibly be the case. Of these, only just above 2,329 went to attorneys. But there is good news, those of those who went to attorneys, there's been a 23% increase from just even 10 years earlier. And about 1,782 of those cases were prosecuted. So when it comes to that point, there is some hope there. So throughout the discussion, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We're not able to have you unmute yourselves or show your videos, but you can by all means talk to us through the chat. We encourage that. We'll make sure to get to as many comments and questions as we possibly can. Feel free during the event to use emojis and otherwise express yourself. If you do have a question that you want to speak your question or comment, you can raise your hand. And we can help you unmute your microphone. I'm joined by two wonderful guests today, and that is two folks who I will allow to introduce themselves to you in a little while. But Heather Antonioli is the mother of a daughter who is a survivor of human trafficking, whose personal journey has profoundly shaped both her advocacy work and her professional path. Laura Mullen is a trauma survivor turned change maker who is a nationally recognized advocate, educator, and survivor leader. She transforms the landscapes of anti-trafficking work across New York and beyond. So we're so grateful to have both of you here with us today. Let me just take a moment to make sure everybody can see you as well. And so grateful to have you both here today. So I'll ask, I know I introduced you both, but I wonder if you could take a minute to tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure. My name is Laura Mullen. Thank you for the wonderful way of putting all my work together. Oh man, what do I do? Where do I start, right? So I survived human trafficking. Once getting out of the life, I knew that I wanted to bring hope to others and let them know that it doesn't have to last forever. And how was I going to do that? I wasn't sure, but I found my path and my journey. And now I've been working in a direct service for about 6 years, as well as I've had 3 pieces of legislation passed here in New York State, as well as legislation passed on a federal level. I sit on many boards throughout New York State to bring human trafficking to the forefront of whatever work, whether it's a hospital, whatever it is that they're doing. So I really try to just really educate not only our community, but our professionals as well about what human trafficking is, the forms of human trafficking, and what does it look like in your specific area, as it looks different from the city urban life to our more rural communities. So a lot of work in the sector around a lot of different things, and that's where am today. Excuse me, Heather.
Hello, and thank you for having me. And Lauren, I'm so happy to hear that your journey is going the way it is. That makes me happy to hear. Hope one day that my daughter's journey ends up like that as well. Um, I'm a mother, obviously, of a child that is a victim of human trafficking, still in the situation currently now as we speak. And I'm constantly educating myself and doing all I can to inform others that this is real, and hopes that what I speak to them, maybe they can use to educate other people so we can spread awareness everywhere. And I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you both. So grateful to have you here to join us for this important conversation that does not get talked about enough. And let's just start off simple. What is human trafficking? What do we mean by that?
Do you have a specific person you want me to just go?
You can just jump on in.
Okay. Human trafficking, like the legal is an individual who's has forced fraud or coercion them into a certain situation, whether it is selling themselves, whether it is working on a farmland, whether it looks like debt bondage and constantly owing somebody because you're allowed to stay in their residence, right? Our domestic servitude industry, right? We see a lot of human trafficking with our housekeepers, our nannies, etc. So there's also we have organ trafficking that we're seeing. So human trafficking, though, when we're speaking about human trafficking, we're not talking about human smuggling. Human smuggling is literally taking people from one place to another just for that purpose, whereas human trafficking is somebody's taking somebody, forcing them with coercion, or it could be physically hurting them to take them to another place to perform certain type of duties that then they are not paid for.
Thank you. Heather, did you want to add anything to that definition? Does that encompass it? Yeah.
She covered it.
Okay. Thank you so much. And it covers so many, a lot of times we hear the phrase sex trafficking. We don't really broaden it out to human trafficking. So thank you for bringing all those other domestic service and organ trafficking and so forth into that as well. So what does get left out when we think about most people think about human trafficking? What should we be bringing more attention to?
From being educated and knowing my story, a lot of people think it's just children. It's not just children. Adults are involved. And lots of times what you see is either your child or your adult child or someone that you know, they're very distant, their patterns change, they're not around as often, or they go missing in my case. And then they have a way of they're brainwashed, and it's almost like a Stockholm syndrome where they feel like they have to be with this individual, that they love them because that's the only life that they know. Sometimes drugs are involved in order for them, because these individuals can't do things sober. Some can, some can't, because being brainwashed. The crowd that they're around, things just start to change. And there, I just know that things change all the way around, and I've had people contact me saying that they had a question regarding their child being online and talking to someone. So there's a lot of online issues that we have with teens thinking that they're talking to a friend or a boy. You have to be very well educated and knowing that that's a red flag there as well.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, for sure. Laura, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that is not spoken about enough is that our young boys are also exploited, right? Whether that looks like they are sex trafficked themselves, labor trafficked, or even drug trafficking, right? So an individual who is forced to sell drugs for an older person, this kid might be 13, they think it's cool, they're forced into it, the dealer or the main person is taking all that money. That too is a form of human trafficking that we also are not discussing. We're actually treating these minors as criminals rather than victims, that they are actually victims, right? That's one thing I would like to talk about, as well as our buyers. We don't have enough conversation around buyers. We're not doing enough to stop the buying. If we stop the buying, we stop the trafficking, right? That's a period. If there's, what is it, like supply and demand type of thing, right? So I definitely think that, and I don't know what that looks like. And I mean, I've only been in the sector for about, out of the life for about going on 7 years. And there's individuals that have been doing this work for decades and they don't have an answer for it. So I don't know if we'll ever see the work being done around the buyers that we need to, at least in my lifetime. But it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had more often.
And I know, Heather, I think you mentioned this to me as well, is prostitution is something that we didn't think of previously as trafficking. Can you mention something about that? Do you want to speak to
I
that?
did. If we think many years ago, when we would open up the newspaper, we would see charges for females, for the cops picking them up because they were selling themselves to undercover police, this and this and that. Now things have evolved and we're more educated, and we now don't see that in the paper. And why is that? Because these individuals were being trafficked. They weren't just selling themselves. They weren't even getting the money. They weren't even being, loved in any some kind of way. So these women aren't being charged anymore. But it's hard. The problem is we're having a hard time charging the individual that's selling or doing this to the victim. Different laws in different states, and that's where we have a lot of questions, and there's a dip in the system. There's just a roadblock. Some states are changing things. I know Georgia just passed a law. My friend was on the board of that, and that's amazing because they call it pimping. So a lot of people will question, oh, well, they're prostituting. Well, what's the difference? They're not. They're being trafficked.
And there's even historically pimping there's some positive connotation with that. It was like a word used right casually. Yeah. And so what I'm hearing is that this is a really complex issue. There's different types of trafficking. There's different ways people are trafficked. Laura said, even the people who are dealing with this on a regular basis to try to prevent it, and to try to rescue people are not necessarily knowing the answers to how to solve this. What can you guys unpack some more of that complexity for us? What makes this such a complex issue?
On my side, because we're all educating each other. I'm walking away with a lot more knowledge than what I had before. So thank you, Laura, for that as well. It makes it complex because now if this is what you're asking, such as like the victim trying to get out of it, is that where we're at? Okay, so lots of times, again, they're being brainwashed. The other thing is how long they were in it. If you're in it for a long time, you can't, civilian life is really hard to live. So they're afraid to go, or there's threats being made. In my circumstances, threats were being made, and also told that family members were killed or going to be killed. You can't run. People think it's so easy to run. I've been told many times, well, how this is a choice. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. And that's where people need to be educated, because that's where I find it very difficult when people have that opinion, right? But I want to educate them. But they have a real hard opinion about it. And it's not about that. What happens on this end that I'm aware of is they're being threatened. They're being told, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that. And on top of it, they're trying to be obedient. That was one of the words that was, you know, spoke of, I was trying to be obedient. So they don't know how to survive in civilian life. And it takes a lot of willpower, and it's really hard for them. Like I said, and another thing is trying to find it. They have to find that, you know, things were reported on my end. Oh, we can't do anything. She's just, you know, a drug addict. No, she wasn't just a drug addict. She's a human being, you know, and depending on where this individual is, I also know when she was moved. So what happens is they're moving. If they catch on at someone, then they're going to push them down to another trafficker, you know, down into another state and keep going and going until, and that's what happens. So there's just so much, and we're talking, you know, people are thinking that they're just drug addicts. Well, that's a human being, number one. Number two, that's not the full story. No one ever picks up the pickup. I feel like I think the police departments, I can't think of what I'm saying right now, but I think they need to be educated. I think there needs to be more education in there, more education in the medical field. People need to understand, you know, there was an incident where my child was in the hospital and she was treated poorly, and I witnessed that. Unfortunately, they didn't know she was my child. So I sat back and I saw it, and then I was able to confront. But we have to look at things differently. We have to be more open. You know, we got to look at these people. They're people. It could be your child. It could be your niece, your nephew, you know. But they're trapped in a sense that, you know, they know sometimes they may know there's a way out, but the fear of the unknown, and you know, there's a chemical in the brain. It takes you know, the mind is a battlefield, and their brain is all these chemicals in their brain, and they're thinking, you know, one word from this individual, I love you, after they beat you or sell you and you come back and they give you a little bit of food, put you in a dog cage. You know, my child was in a dog cage and fed that way and drugged that way. This is what they did until they were able to work her. So there's all sorts of things. It's brutal, and it's a money making thing for these individuals, you know. So it's very hard to get out of, and it's a blessing when they do get out, like Laura. And I'm sure she could attest to how difficult the situation can be.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for the point about, I mean, there's so many important points that you make that really, I think, enlighten everybody who's, you know, hearing this today. But I wanted to also mention the idea that the drug addiction, it can also be forced, right? Somebody can be forced into having that drug addiction, right? So I appreciate you mentioning that as well. I just wanted to bring that point home even further. Laura, did you have anything you want to add about this complexity? Obviously, Heather, you covered so much, and I'm so grateful for that. Heather, I mean, Laura, did you want to add anything?
I mean, yes, she really did cover a lot of it. I just wanted to add that, yes, you can sell a piece of crack one time, but you can sell a human body without having to re-up over and over and over again. But I do want to add, just wanted to touch on that, but I did also want to, that's why it's such a lucrative business, right? I did want to add that, you know, when it comes to individuals, sometimes we don't even know that we're being trafficked. We don't realize what's happening to us is wrong. Somewhere I'm sure we think about it, but it doesn't connect because we're doing whatever we can not to be sick because we're addicted to heroin or to get our next fix or whatever that does look like. We're just in survival mode. And at that point in time, our survival is getting our drugs so that we don't feel like we're going to die. So I think oftentimes we feel like we're doing it because we need to do it, or we almost are wanting to do it. Although the physical abuse and everything that comes with it is something we kind of like overlook because these individuals do, when you're speaking of individuals with substance use disorder, they do hang those drugs over you, right? And then there's also but it's kind of like domestic violence. Like it's really good and then it's really bad. So you stick through the bad because you want to get to the really good, right? So it's like this sick cycle, and you're eventually gain this bond with this individual, right? And this bond with these traffickers or these people that you're in the life with, these other women that you're out there with, you gain relationships, you start to care for them, right? Because we're human no matter what. So no matter what's happening to us, we may hear he has a little 2-year-old and he's struggling struggling with his speech. Something so small like that, because we're human, it gives us empathy, right? So we're humanizing this terrible thing because in our minds it makes sense, even though to others looking in, it's like, why are you doing that? Oftentimes they don't understand like what keeps us in it. But again, yes, human trafficking is very complex and there's a lot to it.
I thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one more thing I wanted to mention. There's also so I, working in the school districts and stuff, we have to remember there was an incident where two children, siblings were missing. They didn't come into school and they were questioned. Come to find out, these two students were being trafficked by their parents. And often other people don't understand this. The parents needed their addiction, they needed to sell the kids in order to get the drugs. These kids were coming to school on a regular basis and then they fell off a little bit. So they were coming to school while they were being sold at night and coming to school the next morning. So there's another type as well.
Thank you for sharing that. One of the things you folks bring home is really the issue. Part of this complexity is this issue of control. If you're not in this situation, then it's like, well, you should have control over, what's happening to you. How come you don't have control? And it's easy to not understand how our control can be taken. Like domestic violence is a great example. Forget the human trafficking part of it, just domestic violence. That is hard for people to put their head around. Why does somebody stay in an abusive relationship, right? But now all the complexity that's added to that when you have all these other human trafficking components where people are being threatened, where there might be addiction involved, where, there's psychological manipulation, further psychological manipulation. I really appreciate that, you folks are sharing. So, how, and you've given so many reasons why human trafficking matters. Have we missed anything about why human trafficking matters? Why should people care about this? So,
I think it's very simple. I mean, this is our world we live in, and it's hurting, harming, killing our youth, our adults. I mean, my daughter was an adult and being sold for a younger age. It's, and I also think, and I don't know if Laura can understand what I'm saying. I often think to myself, what was the life of the individual that trafficked my child? These traffickers, there's multiple. I don't know if it's like, I have a little bit of sympathy because I'm a very spiritual individual. So I pray for them. Were they abused? So are we looking at, there's mental health issues that we're not dealing with mental health either. So there's so many things. I mean, obviously the person could just be a terrible person. Yes, I agree. But I also want to look back, like what happens. I know some people see money. Are they coming from a poor lifestyle? What happened to Laura, what happened to my daughter and all these other women, totally unexcusable. I hands down will never say that we could justify it. But what we need to get to the stem of it all. Like we got to figure out the root of it. Like the mental health, is there mental health involved with these individuals? Do you know what I mean? A lot of things. And I think it's so important. And there is a lot of help for mental health. However, we want to get back into that. We could just go on all day. Mental health, trying to get into mental health and getting the help, trying to get my child, who's an adult now, into a facility is not always that easy. They don't want to be in this area. They don't want to thrive in this area. They want this. They don't want to be. My child was also trafficked a second time from the facility she was at by a worker. So here we go. You know what I mean? When does it end? When does it end? And I'm not saying just with my child.
Yeah, and those I think both of you mentioned it now, like that within this trafficking there becomes a social network that supports the trafficking, right? Like these folks become your friends, your whatever's, that then you don't necessarily feel like outside. And again, like you said earlier, Heather, that it's hard to reintegrate, right, into to typical quote unquote society, right? So you have a network and now you're going to leave that network. That makes it that much harder. So thank you for sharing. How do you bring up the topic of human trafficking with somebody who doesn't know about it? Or how would you recommend other people who maybe don't have any experience with it, but want to share what they've learned today? How should we bring up the topic of human trafficking? I know those are two different questions, so answer whichever one you like.
If you're talking to like family members, your children, or whatever it is, definitely make sure you have enough education behind you to be able to explain to those individuals when they are asking you questions. I think it's also important to know your resources if you are going to speak about human trafficking. Maybe you're standing in 7-Eleven and you start discussing it, and then this girl's like, "I'm being trafficked right now, help me." Like, what do you do, right? Know the resources. And just by doing it, because that's the problem. And especially a lot of times where we are, well, in New York State, we don't speak about these bigger issues. We're just now, believe it or not, we're behind than a lot of other states when it comes to certain public health issues, might I say. So but just having the conversations, just doing it, that's the best advice I can give. But knowing how to help somebody, knowing the resources, and knowing that you cannot save everybody.
Great. And actually, I know Heather's going to mention something, but Laura, if you have any resources you can put in the chat, that would be great. I'd appreciate that. And Heather as well.
She definitely covered that. She's right. Also, we want to like be aware that if you have a feeling, go with your feeling. And you know, like she said, there's going to be resources. You can always pull up resources and look for resources, how to approach, what to say. You know, go to those resources are real big. And I'm very big into going to, meetings, anything, getting on panels, doing all this, because getting educated, they can't take that away from you. You can use it all the time. There was something that I wanted to say and I totally forget. Oh, yes. Laura, I don't know if you can explain a little bit better. So there's also, we need to be aware of, so my daughter had a friend, and this friend, my daughter did a lot for her and helped her out, blah, blah, blah. In the end, this girl was actually grooming my daughter. She was also a victim of human trafficking. So that's something to remember. Like, a lot of these people are like, oh, my child has a really good friend and something's a little off. I'm not too, sure. She's going out. She's starting to get a little controlling of my daughter, blah, blah, blah. It could be a female that's you know what I mean? Grooming your child or your adult friend or family member, anybody. So that was something we didn't touch on. And I'm sure Laura can explain a little bit more about that.
And I think Epstein brought attention to that as well. We're hearing more about, victims who were also recruiters, so to speak, helping with the grooming. Laura, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, I was out there, I recruited girls to work with me, like whatever that looks like, right? It just happens because we normalize it so much and it's just a part of our daily lives. And it was not that we have ill intent. It's just something that unfortunately goes hand in hand when you're in the life.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And congratulations for you, Laura, for where you are today, and really amazing work that you're doing, and so appreciated that you're sharing what you've experienced, and Heather as well. What surprised you the most about this topic? I mean, there's so many things, but what were some things that surprised you? And maybe it's just all one big, maybe that's what it is. That's fair. That's fair. If you come up with an answer to that, definitely let me know. But I understand all of this. Certainly, as I was preparing for this event, all of this was so incredibly shocking, and certainly hearing the various stories. Have you ever changed somebody's mind? I know Heather spoke earlier about how people have this opinion that, why don't you just leave? And we've talked about the complexity of human trafficking and the, what is one's control look like in a human trafficking situation, and how do people manipulate that? So people have this view that it's so simple, right? We all have autonomy, just get up and leave. So have you ever like been able to get through to somebody that's had that mindset?
I try. I have it often because I'm in the situation, right? So a lot of people will come up and be like, it's a choice, and how can it happen more than once? I have a good friend that's a motivational speaker that was trafficked 27 times. So she, had educated me so well on things and explained things. Because, like I said, I'm constantly learning. I don't know everything. And there's so many different scenarios and situations. But yes, people do have an opinion. Even like I said, law enforcement, told me, oh, well, we have her. She was missing, and take the missing person down because she's just a drug addict and she'll get a hold of you when she's ready. There was times that she had explained at one point when she was first found, and we had gone to court, and she had, and she's since then been trafficked again. But she had said that, law enforcement laughed at her. They, I see it. I see it like, here where I live as well. Things going on, and there's people just have an opinion about a lot of things. Really, when it comes down to it, unless it's their loved one. And sometimes people are very kind and want to learn, and are educated. We have people on the panel here today talking and listening. They care. Can't reach everybody, but we try. And I've had people just have a strong opinion about it, and I explained, she had a phone. She couldn't call. I said, no, the phone had one number on it. And that's what, the FBI found, was that phone. She could only make one call, when she was done. She can't call. And she said, I was so close to home. I wanted to come home. I couldn't. I try to tell people her story, and I tell them it's not my story to tell, but at this point, like, you need to educate people, because it's real. And, they have opinions. And I just try to stay, focused and educate them, and just say, this stuff is real. This is what you can do. That's about it.
Yeah, education is so important about so many topics, but this one, because we so infrequently talk about it, so I really appreciate that. Laura, anything you want to add to that? No, that's okay. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Has there been anything? I know Heather mentioned there's a Georgia law that passed. Can you folks, do you know any what changes have been made in this area? Are there new laws, new policies that are happening, or anything in the works? Any historic dates that mattered for this topic?
I mean, there's so many dates. Like there's, National Human Trafficking Awareness Month in January. July 17th, I believe it is National Human Trafficking Day. I don't know. But um, as far as legislation, there's been lots of legislation on a federal level that has been really monumental, you know the word I'm trying to say, in the movement, as well as where I am in New York State, from vacatur laws to credit repair laws to just so many different things, statute of limitations, all these things that are, currently being worked on and that have passed, to really just help a victim be able to, survive and actually thrive when getting out of the life. And then they don't have all this debt holding them back, or they don't have felonies holding them back, or they're not like the trafficker bought a car in my name and now I owe $50,000 in credit, right? So now there's laws out there to actually help these individuals be able to, exonerate some of those things so that they can have a good life and a sustained life without having that financial burden on them.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. January 11th, by the way, seems to be Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
There you go. Yeah.
And thank you for the resource in the chat. Laura, you put in National Human Trafficking Hotline. is a great resource as well. So thank you for that. And that there is a hotline, I'm sure that was not always around. So I'm grateful that has taken place. And we hear a lot about Epstein. Has that helped raise awareness of this topic? Has it helped with any changes, or is it still just there's just so much of it that's just the tip of the iceberg?
I mean, I think it's definitely helped with the statute of limitation, the legislation that's out there. And I'm not even going to try to say what I was going to say because I can't remember the senator's name, so I'm not going to say it. But a federal senator that I worked with on the statute of limitations law, I think that a lot of people with bigger names, people in the industries, people because of Epstein's case, they're now looking at it. Not to say that there's not many people that are in the industries that are not involved, right? And sad to say, but in some type of way. But I do think Epstein's case has highlighted it more on that bigger corporation type of level. So I say corporation because I mean it's a little bigger than what's happening from town to town or state to state, whatever. So I do think it's definitely it brought some attention to human trafficking and what it looks like and what's happening.
Yeah. And yeah, Heather.
I'm just people by watching this and seeing this, they do see the long-term effect that people are having. Like it's not just someone that they know or they're seeing it, on the news, and seeing how these people were affected by this. And I just and wealth, what money does. So it does bring light to people to be educated on that. Like it is real.
Great. And we're talking about the length of how long this can take place, and actually it's from my research it was 15.4 months is the average length of time that somebody is trafficked. So it's ongoing. Thank you. So are there, I know you didn't remember the name of the senator, but that's okay. Are there any other like names that we are going to be hearing from or hearing about, any people we should be paying attention to, or any even offices or, shows, movies, celebrities? Like, where should we go to learn more, to find out more, to advocate, and so forth?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say go to our celebrity like forums, right? Because because like Tim Tebow's doing something now. There's a few other people that are doing stuff, but that's so far from most of our reaches that really starting in your hometown and getting that education from your nonprofits, the people that you can actually walk up to and talk to that will provide workshops for you and not kind of like glamorize it, or I don't know how to even say it right now, but I think just going to where your roots are and trying to help on that level. But I think a lot of people are beginning to talk about it, and I do see an advancement into more of our bigger industries. I think especially the more Epstein case goes on, and we just had the Long Island serial killer who was convicted and all these things. So I do think that we're going to see it in more bigger corporate, whatever I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. Heather, did you want to speak to that too?
Where can they find education laws? Or I know people Facebook you can go on, and there's human trafficking family sites you can read. They tell stories. There's a lot of books out there to read. There's, like she said, to stay in your community. There could be things going on. Even Bright has things you can just constantly pull up and educate. Laws are constantly changing. I'm really trying to push this, but I'm not getting as far as I'd like to. When you're in the bathroom and you see the paper that says, oh, if you have domestic violence, call this number for help. Well, 9 times out of 10, these individuals don't have a phone. So I was trying to push for them to put a phone, an emergency phone in a bathroom in a safe spot that they would be able to, just press the number and call and there'd be help, because, there's people always trying to pass laws or try to get things, and it's not easy. So trying to get them, through the legislation and pushed on, it just sits. Mine's just sitting there. I only got it so far and it's not making any move. But like, I do think it would be, a great thing for everyone to have in a bathroom, because what else, where else would it'd be great, but you can't call if you don't have a phone, so.
It's a great idea. I think you and Laura should have a conversation about how to continue to try to make that happen. It's such a good idea. And Laura, you mentioned the idea of a corporation, that it's bigger than just the towns and even the states. And I think we haven't really talked about that a lot, but can either of you speak to, or both of you speak to, the enormity of the system that is human trafficking?
I mean, it's country to country, state to state. It's country inside of countries, right? I think that this is alongside drugs and weaponry. It's definitely, if not the number one illegal enterprise that there is. Again, because there's so much to it, and so many ways to do it, and I think people take advantage of that. I think that it's every single country, like it's literally everywhere in some form, right? So that's the enormity of it, is that everybody's gonna cross someone or be around, or something's gonna happen. It could be your neighbor, and it doesn't matter where you are. It could be the person on the plane next to you. That's how large scale this problem is.
Yeah. And it's amazing when you put it up there with like gun trafficking and drug trafficking, and yet human trafficking, we think, is this kind of rare thing that only happens to this select group of people, right? Yeah. Heather, did you want to
Had
speak?
some people that I spoke to, and they were like, wow, I can't believe this happened to your child. Like, this is stuff you see on TV. I never like really, and I'm like, well, it's here. It's here, and you really need to be aware of it, totally aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
And to have my
Absolutely.
daughter moved from one state to another all the way down the line, you know what I mean? Like, and the connects that they have to do it. It's crazy. It's a whole nother underground, you know what I mean? Like a whole nother life. And it's crazy.
And just to clarify for folks, it's so basically they took your daughter and then brought her to an entirely different state.
When the trafficker was aware that actually we had put up missing persons, and contacted us through social media saying, we know where she's at, she doesn't want to be found, blah blah blah. And here, thank goodness my son was aware, and he was like, something's not right. And here it was him, and then they were able to take his number, find that she was being posted on the dark web to be sold, and then he knew that they caught on to him, so he moved her down the line. So he was still making money, but he moved on, and he like left that area and moved her down, so states down.
Right. Right.
And this was from being trafficked from the facility, from a worker, onto this individual, and then down the line.
It's a testament to the infrastructure, right? That this is not just one person being a criminal. This is a network, an infrastructure that is meant to be kept, like it is created itself to be kept under the radar. and to be not discussed, right? It only benefits from not being discussed. So thank you again for sharing. Yeah. Okay. So I know earlier, Heather, you had mentioned like you have to look out for this and look out for this. So let's just dedicate some time to that. What are we looking out for? Because it's all over the place. It is under the radar. The people who are in this situation sometimes don't know they're in the situation. Sometimes know but can't escape the situation, like you said, the phones and whatnot. So what can somebody outside look for? Is one question. Then what can they do about it when they do see it, or they suspect, or they notice something? It's of course two big questions. Let's just deal with what does it look like? How would somebody from outside see it? Let's recap that or add something new to that.
I don't know. I feel like that next question you changed it, but okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Um, uh, I just think that there's so much to look out for that you cannot look out for everything. But I like to break it down into specific instances, such as maybe you work in a hospital and an individual's coming in, but there's another male or female there that's saying everything for that person, and that person's not making eye contact with you, etc. Right? And you could be in a doctor's office and this individual is not being left alone, and that this man or woman wants to go with them, but this person is clearly of age and there's no relation. Why does this person try to giving space, right? Say, no, listen, we need to just talk to him or her by themselves. You could be in a fast food restaurant and you see like this elderly man coming in with like this 15-year-old girl that looks shy, but she's got her hair done, her nails done, right? That could be a sign that she's with a John right now, right? Or with a trick, right? Individuals in the school systems, right? You have young adults who are coming into school and maybe they're not thriving, right? Maybe they're not, maybe there's other behavioral issues that we're writing off as they're bad rather than asking them what's going on and what's happening at home, right? And a lot of other specific instances that I could touch on. It's too many for right now, but just trying to learn some of your red flags. Maybe your neighbor's house, there's constantly people in and out of the house, right? You think it's drugs. It might not be drugs, right? What if you've seen 2 girls go in there and 15 men go in there, right? What does that look like? What's really happening? What's going on? And many others. And I'll let Heather, if she has to just go.
She's right. Like I said, my my I went with the 2 students. It didn't, for whatever reason, like I still, that was in the early, like, because years ago, like it was in the stages of not, I'm like, oh, why are this kid's not here? And then come to find out that this is what's happening. Can this really possibly be happening? That they're at home and their parents need to pay for their drugs and these kids blew my mind. So there's all sorts of different things. Like she said, as such as the doctors, we got a phone call, your daughter's here. This guy won't leave her going by herself and won't let her. And he's just here. And then he came in last night and he's like, this and that. She's absolutely right. They called me, red flag right there, and you nailed everything. Like it's something that looks out of place, probably is exactly out of place. So
yeah, that's a great point, and great points all around.
People don't know what to do at that point. Then, like that's right. The thing, because we have we got to be quiet. We got to back away. We don't want to say anything because then So another thing is when we had her missing and the cops thought that they found her. She said, oh, "You have no idea what I went through." I was looked at. She said I was a target at that point. Like they blew my spot up and now I'm in trouble. So you fear like what happens if they don't do anything and then this individual gets beat, you know what I mean? If they just call it, oh, it's a domestic violence thing, domestic, like, let's just, you guys got to solve it yourselves, whatever. So I know people have a lot of questions. Like, what do I do? How you can call 911 and like just have them check, but the backlash is if the cops aren't going to do anything or they're not going to help out, what's that person it's going to happen to that person. So that's where Laura comes in and she's going to help me out with that. What do we do when that happens?
Well, one of the things that we have here in Suffolk County, and hopefully I would love to see it, everywhere, we have a great super team of human trafficking investigators that were handpicked, like with me in the crowd, and like really survivor centered, really trauma informed. And I hope that this reaches and is the model for other places as well, right? But one of the things that they have now is see something, text something, where you can text a license plate really quick. You can text the person has brown hair with this guy. We're at this address, and they're whatever, as much detailed information as you can. And here in Suffolk County, our HT unit, it goes right to the sergeant's phone. The sergeant immediately follows up on that lead, and they follow up on every single lead, right? And it's only 5 of them, right? But they follow up on every single lead, because any lead can lead to something. So like, this person is in McDonald's with this guy, this person texts the license plate number, they're able to go get the videos, they find out it is that missing girl, Catherine, that's missing, that's with this man. So even if we think that we're not going to help, the littlest, like reaching out, just telling somebody, you never know what it could lead to, literally saving somebody's life.
So this text thing that you're talking about, is that only in where you live, or is that all over that?
It's our Crime Stoppers here. We have it. I don't have an answer if it's everywhere. But for us here in New York, you see something, text something.
That's what I'm saying. We need that everywhere.
Yeah,
like
everywhere. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. So sometimes calling 911, you get to an operator and it's and I get
color
it.
eyes do they have? Where is this?
Right.
Her hair, like where, what corner?
Right,
How do you
right.
know what makes you,
Right.
by that time,
They're gone.
yeah.
Exactly.
What for the Crime Stoppers, Laura? What is the number that you text? Is it texted
It's
to
like
911?
188 Crime Stoppers. I don't know, whatever it is, whatever's I can find it. You know, I never had to call
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Let's share that information. That'd be great.
You got it. I'll put it in the chat.
That's great. I appreciate it. I do know I was on a this was news to me, and it's not human trafficking specific, but I was on a train once and there was somebody who needed help basically. And I texted 911 because I couldn't do anything else. I was like, let me see if this works. And I actually texted 911 and somebody responded just like on a call. So, and they were able to, it was harder because I was on a moving subway. And so they were like, what stop are you at? I'm like, it doesn't matter because I'm going to be at the next one in 2 minutes. But they were able to respond quickly. And so there is a 911 by text as well.
I had an incident out of state where I did get a call from my daughter and I had to call the police. Not easy getting a hold of them in this particular state. And I ended up getting a whole nother state, and they're like, listen, ma'am, let me take this information down because it could cross borders. It was actually Texas. That was amazing. But where I was trying to get was another state, and he transferred me back. The man was taking all the, he was like, I said to him, you didn't even ask my name. He was getting ready to hang up the phone, and it was a sergeant. And I'm like, you don't even have my name, my number. You don't even have her name. You just have my story. How are you going to proceed with this? You're hanging up. So again, they have in their mind, they have bigger problems sometimes. Again, we need to educate. They're supposed to have social workers in cars with the police in PA. They're supposed to be doing this where they can de-escalate a situation. Or, we had camera footage of my child and we looked at it and there was negligence all over in this other state she was at. They never questioned the car. They never ran the plates. They asked for her ID. She said it was stolen. They never asked why. And they never took her away from the individual to say, hey, are you safe? They didn't do that. So we need to educate law enforcement more.
That's an excellent point. And the point keeps coming up of like separating the person from whoever they're with, just to have a moment to be able to ask them questions. So in the Suffolk alerts number, so this is Suffolk, Long Island, in New York is 67283. But educate yourselves and look online, find out information about other hotlines that are available as well. So this has been such an important conversation. Thank you so much. We have like a couple of minutes left, not really, but is there anything we haven't said that you folks want to make sure we say? recovered.
Thank you. Just thank you for the individuals that are here today. Thank you for wanting to gain knowledge, and please share this information with others. Speak about it so that people know it's happening and it's not just in a movie.
Exactly. You're right, Laura.
Thank you.
And Laura,
Thank
if
you.
you can get a hold of me, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, if can you connect us via email, please? Thank
Definitely.
you.
I appreciate
Definitely
that.
will. No problem
Thank
at all.
you.
And anybody who wasn't here but registered, they're going to get a link to this event on YouTube. So it will be posted on YouTube, and you'll be able to share that link as well. So we want to get this information out to as many people as possible. So thank you so much. Thank you to our wonderful guest, Heather and Laura, for being here today. I'm so appreciative of what you brought to the table, and your openness, and with sharing your stories with us and what you do and what you know. So we hope you enjoyed this discussion, and we are so glad to be here to help spread the word so that people understand the nuances surrounding this complex issue of human trafficking. There's these values we've discussed today that are so tied up in this topic, things like loss of agency and abuse of power, and the importance of dignity in the situation, and the idea of, like, not only do you have to, which we only touched on briefly, but it's, the whole process of recovery, and reintegration, and rebuilding and healing from this when it's happened to you. So to help continue this discussion, we will send access to our video, our event video, to everyone who is registered for this event. And additionally, we will have our infographic as well that we will share access to. It's not posted yet, but you'll see where it will be posted. I've just put up our poll for this event, so feel free to take some time to answer the questions in this poll. And also please commit to one weekly action in order to raise awareness about this important topic and the issues associated with it. Getting informed by watching this video or coming to this event is a great way to get started, but also be vigilant in helping to prevent child as well as adult trafficking in the ways that our panelists discussed. And keep a watchful eye on your own children, but also these tips that our panelists have talked to us today about what to be aware of when we see other people. Make sure that you're enabling your safety controls, and you know what your children are doing. There's this old advertisement from a long time ago. My childhood was, where your children are, right? So promote open communication, and create community with the people around you, so that there is a safe space for people to come to you and share their stories with you. And of course, be helpful for survivors as well by allowing them to share their stories without victim blaming. So listen and be empathetic of those who have a story to tell. And feel free to volunteer at human trafficking related nonprofits, some of which we put in the chat or discussed today as well. You can, or we're going to be posting our 26-27 schedule for other events, not only in this program, which is the Know It All program, but in our other programs as well. Children's crafting, adult crafting, movie nights, game nights, for example. So that schedule should be posted by the end of this month or beginning of next month. So check that out. We also have in-person chapters. New York City, for example, has some events on our website in their chapter as well. So please check that out. Please consider donating to IYC to help cover the costs to help put these events together. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to like, subscribe, to comment, and to share those videos as well to help educate others. So thank you so much for all of you who are here with us today. Thank you for our tremendous panelists. And let's keep this conversation open. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Thank you guys for coming.